This is a guy I've wanted to get on this show for years. I reached out to Speedy and I said, reach out to this guy. Let's get him on the show. I think he has a lot to give and some of the information that's going on in sports betting. He is a former 14-year NBA referee and the author and book of Personal Foul. He is the guy that created the book of Personal Foul. The one, the only, Tim Donaghy. Tim, what is up, my friend?
Hey, not much. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Well, we're happy to have you, man. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the NBA. And now we're hearing in the UFC. So it seems like it's flustering in many different ways in many different sports. I'm flustered. I wrote a story about Dana White, so maybe it's just me. Maybe I just caused a lot of trouble for the UFC. Maybe not. I'm trying to give myself some kind of pat on the back. But you've been on, you've been on different shows around the country, and you've been talking about sports betting. And sports betting has really controlled, I think, professional sports for more than 50 years. It's been around forever, and you've been behind it for a very, very long time. You've done time because of it. First of all, I want to get into your career and how you got into refereeing. I know your father was a referee in college sports and the NBA. Tell us a little bit about what made you become a referee and the back end of your career before you became a referee.
My dad was a top college basketball referee. My uncle Billy Oakes was an NBA ref, and I came from Howardtown, Pennsylvania, where there were, 4 or 5 other NBA referees: Callahan, Crawford, Javi, Wonderlick, and it was a situation where we all kind of just grew up in that area and had the ability to listen and learn from each other. And with that, I just decided to pursue in their footsteps. And I was fortunate enough to get in a training program and eventually at age 26 get hired by the NBA.
Now, David Stern is a guy that is very well respected for NBA fans. I respected David Stern. He really transitioned the NBA to what it is today and gave it to Adam Silver. And now I believe it's the LJA. It's not the NBA. It's called the LeBron James Association because it seems like everything is run through LeBron James, as we all know, as we watched Luka Doncic get traded out of nowhere last year at the trade deadline when everybody was shocked and surprised. Tell us a little bit about your connections with David Stern. Obviously, David Stern was the commissioner of the NBA when you were a referee in the NBA. What type of commissioner was he in the NBA?
Really, I didn't have any interaction with him, but I can just tell you, with the situation that I was involved with and the FBI agents getting involved, they said that he was as worse than any other mob boss they ever investigated. They just said he was ruthless and he was just, conniving and he was manipulative. And, they just said that he was, worse than any mob boss they ever investigated. And he was somebody that, did a lot of things behind the scenes to, benefit himself in the NBA.
July 20th, 2007, the New York Post columnist, Mr. Wise, first reported the investigation into your situation and from the bets from NBA games from 2005 and 2007. Tell us a little bit about that situation.
Well, when I started to gamble,
Yes.
and I just started to gamble on college events and then eventually pro events, and then started to bet on a lot of events that were taking place with a buddy of mine named Jack and Cannon. And then from there, when I had information on NBA games, I told him about that, and then eventually even NBA games that I officiated when inside information became talked about in the meetings. I would take that information, and if I felt the line was 4 or 5 points off, I would tell certain people to bet the games. And, they were doing well betting the games and passing the information along to people associated with organized crime. And, they started to use it. And then when I wanted to stop doing it, they, had somebody come and pick me up and tell me that we weren't going to stop, that I was going to continue to give them the picks that I had been given, to a buddy of mine.
Everybody talks about the integrity of the game and what the game really brings to the world and all the international people and players that have come over the last couple of years. Now, Tim, you look at the game and you look at the transition of the game. Obviously, the Chauncey Billups story is the big one. When you look at Chauncey Billups, he's very well respected around the league. He's a coach. And you hear these stories about the scandal that he was in with the glasses and working with the Gambino family, or the four families that were involved in all these different stories. When you heard Chauncey Billups' name get brought up into that story, what were your thoughts to it?
Just kind of shocked that, an active NBA coach was involved in poker games and luring people there, for the purpose of basically robbing them. So kind of shocking that he was involved in that. And some of the other things of, basically giving information about what was going to go on in a game he was involved with, if they were going to tank or not. And if certain star players weren't playing, he was passing that information along too. So, it was kind of shocking that it got to the point where, he was doing stuff like that.
I've gone back and forth with the Terry Rozier thing because the NBA were investigating and then let him play. Porter was pretty much thrown to the wolves. I believe the NBA did that to you because I think there were other people involved in your scandal, and they really pushed it on you. I believe the NBA protected themselves and didn't protect you. And I heard different stories behind it. When you think of the NBA after what the NBA did to you, and you see what the NBA is dealing with right now, what do you think of the NBA after the fact that they pointed the finger at you and nobody else?
Right. I mean, I have a text message from an FBI agent that said, "Hey, Tim, doesn't look like they're going to be able to cover this up like they did in your situation." So, I think that, definitely they covered a lot up. There was other people that I know the FBI wanted to indict, and it just seems like the prosecutor, who later went to work at a law firm that got all the outside legal counsel work, from the NBA since he went there, seemed to be, running the investigation with David Stern. So, it's just, a lot of strange things definitely go on in regard to the NBA and how they conduct business.
We are talking to former 14-year NBA referee, author of the book Personal Foul, Tim Donaghy. Everybody knows him. And to me, I don't know. I haven't checked out your book. I'm definitely going to buy it. It came out in 2009. Tell us a little bit about the book. And did you actually write it when you were in jail?
I did. I wrote it when I was in jail. Would mail each chapter back to my mom, who would type it up nice and neat and then mail it back to me. And then we just put the whole thing together and thankfully got it published when the NBA went into, the offices of Random House, who was going to print the book, and basically threatened them, and went into the offices of 60 Minutes and asked them not to air the episode right before we published the book. So, it's just a lot of the underhanded things that, like you said, David Stern was involved with and doing to me.
Well, we all know what happened with the New York Knicks, and there were stories coming out that the reason why the Knicks won the lottery with Patrick Ewing is because the card was cold and he pulled it out, and the Knicks won Patrick Ewing. And the Knicks have never gotten the number one pick since then. They've been really, really bad. So I could believe that there's something behind the NBA and David Stern over the years. And I believe Adam Silver lets the players run the league. It's been a big problem over the last couple of years, as I call it, not the NBA. And anybody that listens to this show, I call it the LJA, the LeBron James Association, because it seems like everything goes through LeBron James with all of the different things that have happened in the league, including picking the United States basketball team, as he didn't want certain players to be on the team, and they were not picked to be on the team. I don't know if it's a coinky-dink, but it seems like it is. But that's a whole nother story. You talk about the mafia and the four families that were caught behind this scandal with the Billups, the Jones, and the Rozier story. You were tied up with the Gambino family. Tell us a little bit about the Gambino family and how you were tied up with them.
There was just a buddy of mine I went to high school with, and he knew this guy that also went to our high school. And, when I wasn't giving the picks anymore to a buddy of mine, I didn't know behind my back he was getting them. And this guy was associated with organized crime and wanted to continue to get those picks. So he just, set a meeting up with Tommy Martino, and when I was in Philadelphia to referee the Sixers and the Celtics, and basically showed up at my hotel and said he had known what I had been doing for years, and he wanted to continue to get those picks. And if I didn't give him the picks, he'd have somebody, expose me to the NBA for the gambling I had done in the past because I wasn't supposed to place a bet of any kind, or worse yet, have somebody visit my wife and kids in Florida.
College basketball is, we had Brendan Steiner on Monday, and he was talking about how important college basketball is when it comes to signing autographs and getting these players now with the NIL deals and the way these players can make money now off their own autographs. He says that's where everything's transitioning in. Do you believe that sports betting is going to transition even more into college sports, and why?
I don't think it is. I think it's going to come to a little bit of a halt because I think it just exploded so quick, and the benefits of the league's bottom line because of being involved with these gambling sites now, I think moved way too fast. And I think at the college level, they want to try to keep it away from these student athletes as much as possible. So, I think they're going to have to find some type of way to slow this down a little bit, get these prop bets under control so that, more players don't, end up doing what these guys did. And I think you're going to find out that more players whose names haven't even been released yet are involved in this. So I think there's more to it, and I think it's just not out yet.
Tim, baseball. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Joba.
Yeah, no, there's been, I think, 4 guys this year in baseball, too, and Errol brings up college basketball. Do you think that in other sports that we've seen in baseball now, do you think it is going to become as prevalent in the other sports as kind of we're seeing, what they're like making an example out of the NBA now, that we're going to see a little bit more come to the forefront in the other sports as well?
I think it happens in all sports. I think right now it's the NBA who is exposed and under the fire. I think with this, you may find out that there's other people in other sports involved, and it's just the tip of the iceberg right now. So I think there's a lot more to come with this, to be honest with you.
We are talking to former 14-year NBA referee, author of the book Personal Foul, Tim Donaghy. He has been all over the last couple of weeks speaking about this sports betting, and now you're hearing something that the UFC has to investigate, and Dana White. Baseball has dealt with this over the last couple of years. The Shohei Ohtani story, I'm sure you heard about the Shohei Ohtani story, and the FBI was involved with it. They investigated it for 2 weeks, and there were so many offshore accounts. There was so much money involved in this. As a matter of fact, some people say, at first they were saying between 15 and 18 million. Now they're saying between 25 and 30 million. And there's 4 different accountants Shohei Ohtani goes to when it comes to his money. And it's really surprising that Shohei Ohtani didn't know that there was $25 million missing out of his account. I know he's a very rich man. I know he's an international superstar, but it's pretty interesting when you hear a story like this. And you look at Pete Rose, and Tim, you know Pete Rose. I'm sure you're a Pete Rose fan, who never has been inducted into the Hall of Fame because he bet on baseball, bet for his team against other teams when he was a manager, and was never really allowed to be brought back in baseball. When you look at that situation that baseball had to deal with Shohei Ohtani, do you think they did the right thing? Do you think they investigated it deeper? Or they should have. I think they should have investigated it deeper. But do you think they investigated deep enough when it came to Shohei Ohtani?
No, because I don't think there's any way that he didn't realize $30 million was missing out of his bank account. I think the Major League Baseball know for a fact that he was involved in it, and they don't want to kill the golden goose who's bringing them global attention. At this point, so I think that they covered this whole thing up. I don't think there's any doubt that he was involved in placing these bets on these games.
A guy that you know well, and Scott Foster, another referee that allegedly was caught in this, but then they said he wasn't. He was not charged with anything. There was a lot of these false reports, but I know you're close with him. Do you know anything about any other referees that might be connected in the modern game now, and what do you think the NBA should do to approach it now?
No, I can't tell if anybody else is, involved in gambling at this point. I really couldn't hear him, but yeah, Foster was a friend of mine, and as far as him being involved in this, he definitely wasn't involved in any way, shape, or form with myself.
They obviously probably approach you. When does the FBI and it go to the next step of just not just the NBA, but getting authorities involved after that?
I'm not sure what you mean, but the FBI got involved and through an investigation of a game being a wiretap, and I guess that's how they heard of our entire situation. And from there, once I had known that an investigation started, I kind of went to them and had an attorney call them.
Tim, you look at the FBI, and the FBI they investigated your case, and they dug deep into your case. And now you're looking at Chauncey Billups, Rozier, and Jones, and they were kind of grading where these guys were. I mean, honestly, they're saying Jones is going to get the smacketh down laid on him because they think he was involved with all three situations. Rozier betting on games and actually shaving off points, that was really bad. And they said Chauncey Billups, he might see jail time, he might not. It depends on how they can investigate it and pin it on him because there are things that maybe might not be able to be pinned on him. When you look at all three of these guys, and like you said, there are other guys that are involved with it. You've heard that Kevin Garnett was at these games that was robbed. You've heard of other NBA players that have shown up to these betting games in these games. Do you think that the NBA is going to pull out even bigger names involved in this case?
I think they're going to do whatever they can to minimize the damage and minimize the names that come out from this. But unlike the situation with myself, they're not controlling this investigation. I think the FBI is saying that, we're going to get this right this time, and we're going to do it by, prosecuting these guys to the fullest extent of the law. So I think, again, this is just something that's getting started, and there's a lot more to it.
You have LeBron James, you have Giannis, and I'm not saying they're involved with it. I'm not pinning them on this story. But if these names were involved in this case, could you see the NBA pushing this under the rug and trying to push the FBI outside of this circle that they're in right now if it was a big superstar like Shea Ohtani with baseball?
I think that they would do everything they can to cover it up and do that. But like I said, I don't think that's going to happen this time. I thought back in the day, David Stern was involved in running my whole investigation. The United States attorney that was working the case at the time left there and went to a law firm and started getting all outside legal counsel work from the NBA. So, I don't think that they're going to be able to get the guys that they need to be their puppets and do what they did back in the day with me. I think these guys want to get this right. And I think the FBI is not going to be embarrassed, and they're going to make it right.
With these prop bets, and obviously with how prevalent, the gambling websites, as far as advertising, on, networks that are showing baseball, basketball, football, like DraftKings, whatever, I use LeBron. He's one of the spokespersons for DraftKings. Do you think to get it right, do you think they have to eliminate, things like prop bets or certain things that are easier to kind of dictate through, them being involved in representing the DraftKings or whatever, and then also playing as well?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you can get rid of the prop bets. Or one way you can do it is just have it. You can only take the over. You can't take the under of the prop bets because, make the players go out and play hard and try to, hit the over mark. So this way there's no worry about somebody tanking for the under. You can only bet the over and set that at an amount so that there's no tanking when it comes to it. But I think there's somehow, some way they have to try and put the genie back in the bottle and get this under control so that, this thing doesn't ever happen again.
Well, it's going to be very, very hard when it's international now. It's national. There's how many states involved with it, and everybody's involved with it. Tim, you know this. Everybody is and again, I think prop bets should be taken out of the game, especially the NBA, because these players seem to think that they can get away with it. Now, I think that when you look at Porter and what Porter got, he got a life ban. And I think the same thing when it comes to steroids. I think there should be something, as bad as it is, they should grade it. If it's graded to that potential where it's going to be a life ban, then you can give them a life ban. But there has to be a grade like steroids that if you do it once, you're suspended for a year. If you do it a second time, you're out for this. Or there's got to be something. When you look at sports betting and you look at the league and the NBA, do they figure out some kind of rule or regulation that could obviously they could put into effect for the future for the NBA?
No, I have no idea, what the best scenario would be. But when it comes to gambling, I think that they have to take a a hard stance because it really, hits at the integrity of the game. And if you don't have the integrity of the game intact, what's already in question with the NBA, it's tough to keep fans in the stands. And without the fans in the stands, the game suffers. It's just a situation where, you got to just get it going and hope things change.
We're talking to Tim Donaghy, 14-year NBA referee, author of the book Personal Foul. Go check it out. Go to any bookstore. I'm sure they're in Amazon. You can find the book. I'm going to go buy the book, Tim. And then I want to talk one-on-one with you and go over each chapter about your book, because I think it would be absolutely great to talk about fully your book in the inside and out of what happened in your career as a basketball referee. You look at, the situation the NBA is in now and now the league as a whole, and now you have Adam Silver. It's not David Stern, so it's a completely different commissioner. And I think he's been more lenient in certain ways. I think he's let the players really run the league. And a lot of people have complained about the NBA, about the different stuff that has gone on, the under the table stuff, the Kawhi Leonard thing that came out. You just heard it from Fish in our Sports Minute. Do you think that something needs to be done with the commissioner? Maybe Adam Silver is way over his head.
It's a possibility because he definitely has taken a much softer stance than David Stern, ever took. So maybe somebody in the middle would be a happy medium. But yeah, it seems like, Silver's got a lot of problems that he needs to get rectified in a hurry.
I'm not a betting man. I do a sports radio show. A lot of people come to me and they ask me, what props bet? My sister won $800 recently because I gave her a props bet and a parlay, and she called me up. Oh my God, I put $20. I won $800. I could do this. I could do that. So I don't bet on sports because it's not my thing. All right. But I love sports, and I look at things and I calculate statistics and generate certain numbers, but it's not always right. When you look at Vegas, and Vegas is, I think, 65% right or 68%. I don't know what the number is now. When you look at Vegas and the numbers and how it generates as a whole, do you think that one way or another Vegas needs to be controlled in some kind of way by these, by the FBI or the leagues out there?
Yeah, there has to be some type of independent monitoring system that you can really spit out the red flags with irregular betting. But there's a lot of situations where you can bet overseas or different avenues, not just in the United States. So if you want to get the money down, they'll still be able to get the money down.
All right, let's talk about what you're doing now. Now, I heard you're doing real estate, and you've been very successful. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since all that stuff happened to you.
Yeah, I got involved, in real estate at the right time back in 2009 and 10, where nobody really wanted the properties. Was able to get them cheap at an auction, fix them up, rent them out. Now I have several properties that I'm basically just monitoring them and the landlord of.
You got to give me some tips, man. I mean, I'm doing a little side work as well. I got somebody helping me out, teaching me the ropes, and it can get confusing because percentages and what you're putting into it, you want to make sure that you're getting something out of it, and it kind of throws you off because I'm lackluster when it comes to statistics and numbers when it comes to money. I've made a lot of mistakes in my time, my friend, and I'm a little lost. So maybe we could talk off air. Maybe you could give me some of your tips. I'm definitely interested. Now, you got a family, you got daughters. Tell us a little bit about your family life since the situation and how they handled everything.
Thankfully, they handled it great. I was fortunate enough that after I got out, I rebuilt my life, like I said, through real estate. All my daughters are happy and healthy. One of them, the youngest one, still lives with me. So, just been lucky that they were resilient. We were able to get past everything.
I want to get into Goodfellas. Everybody was talking about the murders that they did and all the other stuff, the drug dealing. But the real reason why they got caught was sports betting. And it was that Boston College, the two players from Boston College. And I investigated and I was like, well, and then he was on a Howard Stern show and he was talking about it. He's like, it was nothing with the drugs. It was nothing with this. They wanted to catch the sports betting and what we were doing, shaving off points. When you hear something like that, and that was before you, was that something that really sunk in when you kind of seen stories or heard of stories of that magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, I always heard of the famous Boston College scandal. So, as depicted, as they said in Goodfellas. So, yeah, no, it's definitely that, situations like this are going to come up time to time. You just have to hope that they're, minimal in damage that they do to the sports league. So, I think this one, like I said earlier, is something that's going to be much bigger than what it is right now. It's just getting started.
All right. So may he rest in peace. If David Stern was alive today, okay? He was alive today, and we could set up a celebrity boxing match. Would you get in the ring with David Stern?
I would love it. Trust me, I would love it.
I'll tell you what, maybe we can hook you up with Adam Silver. I see that he has these big ears. He could flop outside of the ring. I mean, he might be able to fly. I mean, he could do the Matrix against you. I don't know.
You never know.
It's an interesting story because I really think that they shafted you. I mean, reading the different stories that I've read and behind the scenes, I didn't read your book yet. And I'm going to read your book now, and I would love to get you on the show to talk about your book and go inside and out of the chapters and the trials and tribulations. What was it like going to jail, federal penitentiary?
Definitely not fun. Not fun at all. A lot of long, boring, lonely nights. But I was fortunate enough that I got through it.
Yeah, I've never been to jail. I've seen a lot of different things over the years, but I've never really experienced it. So I couldn't imagine it going to a federal penitentiary and dealing with that as long as you did. And that's still a long time. 15 months is a long time. And to really kind of go and think about the things that you did and you wrote a book. So it took away some of the time that you were there because you could really figure out how you want to attack this and how you want to present your story behind the paper. And it's interesting. And is your mom still here with us?
Yes, she is.
And how is your mom doing?
She's doing good. My dad and her are still, doing well in Seattle City, New Jersey. And, I go back there, once in the summer just to, say hi and spend some time there.
How did your father handle this? Because your father, very well respected around the college ranks as a referee, and really helped you start your career. How did he handle this scandal and how it was pinned on you the way it was? Did he handle it the way a father would, or did he kind of take a step back and didn't say anything?
Kind of handled it like a father would, definitely supportive. Thankfully, even though that it was embarrassing with, what I had done and how I had done it. So, I was fortunate enough that, my parents stood by me and helped me out a great deal.
Yeah, well, before we let you go, all right. So let's pretend that you are the judge with Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, and Mr. Jones. Okay, you're standing there and you're making a decision on how you're going to handle it. I don't know if there's going to be a jury involved with it, but if it was just you making a decision, what would you give Chauncey Billups first?
If all these allegations are true,
what would you give him?
I would say he's probably going to do, 2 to 4 years.
So that's you being nice, right? Is that what it is?
Right.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to nip it on the bud here. I know nobody's asked you this question, but that's what makes our show interesting. I want to pretend that you are the law and you're making the decisions. All right. Terry Rozier.
I think, that's fixing a game, fixing a bet. I think he's probably going to do the most time. I think the Boston College scandal guys did 5 to 7. I'd say, probably 5 to 7.
Now, a lot of writers have been all over on this. They're saying Jones was involved with every single one of these scandals. What would you give Jones if you were the judge of this situation?
I always liked him. He was always good to me. He was a good guy. So maybe I'll just give him a little probation.
Tim, this is why I like you, man. You kept a straight face until that smirk came out. You kept it straight the whole time. I was trying to get something out of you, and you were like, same old stuff. And then, bam, I got you. And then David Stern, I would love to see you box. What do you knock him out in the first or second round? I think
30 seconds.
Right hook, right?
Lefty. I'm a lefty.
That's right. You're a lefty. So left hook, you throw a couple of jabs, set him up, and knock him out. Out
There you go.
like a light. But maybe we'll make a book together. We'll call it Joba in the Mouth, Out Like a Light by Tim Donaghy. Tim, we love you, man. And listen, I know you've been all over the place, and I know you've been jumping from different shows. The fact that you came on our show says a lot about who you are, and we are one of the up-and-coming big shows in the states of the world, and we're ranked in the 200s in Spotify and Apple, and we're just growing all over the place. And we just love the fact that you came on and gave us your takes and didn't hold back on anything that you said, and that makes you who you are. And I think that's why I think that the NBA should have given you a little bit more lenience on some of the stuff that they claimed you did, especially when you wanted to you wanted to get out of it, and you were thrown to the wolves by the FBI and the NBA. I think it was wrong for David Stern, even though I think he was the only guy that helped the NBA grow in the time that they needed to grow, but also did things that I think was pushed under the rug and shoved under the rug in the wrong way. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you having me. I look forward to, after you read the book, we'll talk about it again.
Let's do it. I'm serious.
All right,
I want to talk to you. Tim
All right.
Donaghy. So he's been fantastic. It was a great interview. And let me tell you something. He would knock out David Stern. I like it. I like it. You see that, guys? I got out of him that, and I kind of put him in a position where he was the judge and the jury, and he made his decision. I'm very surprised he said that he's a good friend of Jones, so I guess that made a lot of sense. He would just give him probation.
Yeah, he was quick to correct you on that 15 years.
Listen, I made a mistake. I cleaned it up. All right, it's not always.
He only served 11 with good time though.
Yeah. And you want to know something? He's such a straight shooter. He kept a straight face the whole interview. Until I got out of him a smile. Did you guys see that?
There's probably certain stuff he can't say anyways.
No, I know. And I wanted to hold back. I was going to attack it in maybe other ways, but I think I attacked it the way I wanted to attack it and really add my humor to it at the end. So it was perfect. It was a perfect interview. I loved it.